सनातन रघुजुगं श्री जीव गोपाल को कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परों प्रेमामृतं बनिधि कृष्ण कीर्तन कानन तन परों प्रेमामृतं बनिधि कुजत कोकिलहं संसार सुगन की निमयूराकुले नाना रत्न निबद्ध मूल विटप श्रीयुक्त वृंदावने राधा कृष्ण महन्निसं प्रभजतौ
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
In India, it's 12 hours difference, so Japan is different, everywhere is different, but if you miss the chance to attend the live shows, you still have the opportunity to visit our YouTube channel, Hare Krishna Society, and tune in to the previous shows. We have hundreds of programs there, and people can take advantage of them without having to be regulated by the live presentations that we do 3 times a week. Yes, on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock in the evening here in Eastern Canada, and Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Canada time. And it is a sadhana program that we're promoting. It's a consistent regulation of activity. So it's great to see all of you that are making an effort to attend on time and be a part of this hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord from the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And as you know, I was in Mexico very recently. Had quite the experience, actually. I went there to help my friend, Gopal Das, leave his body. It was quite educational, especially seeing someone suffer so much in the last month or so. He was in great distress. And we have all kinds of pictures of it. I'm not showing them on the screen here. I took many, many photos of him in his state of cancer. And cancer, it spreads throughout the body. In his case, he had cancer of the liver, he had cancer of the lungs, and he had cancer of the colon. And it affected his heart. And because of that, he appears that his heart collapsed finally, Ram Raghava, and he left his body during the period I was there. And it was, as I said, educational, because we got a chance to see the philosophy of Krishna consciousness operate in real time, Michael. Yeah. Not simply academically, because a lot of people get into Krishna consciousness, they think it's an academic type of experience. It isn't. It's a devotional experience. And there are two aspects to knowledge: jnanam, vijnanam, practical realization. And vijnanam is far different than jnanam. Just like a lot of people, they think they know, but they have no experience. They have no history of devotional service. They have no experience of pleasing Śrīla Prabhupāda by their service to him. They don't have direct experience of that, but they think they know. They think they know. And they're entitled to it. I call it the International Society, I repeat this all the time, the International Society of Opinionators. Everybody has an opinion, and they're entitled to that, yes. Everybody has an independent free will to choose what they're going to do with their time, who they're going to associate with. Association is critical. And if you associate with the wrong people, it's like cancer. It is. And it spreads. It'll spread to you. So we very much discourage people from associating with people that claim to be guru but aren't. Don't do it. It's a mistake. I don't know, someone yesterday at the class was recommending some sadhu sangha, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, some program. I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I find out it's some ISKCON event run by Sahajiyas. And it's $400 to get in. Oh, that's what we're going to do? Yeah. No, we don't associate with Sahajiyas. We don't associate. We go around them, sure. But association is different. We embrace the association of people that are following in the footsteps of our Guru, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And that is critical to making advancement in spiritual life. You have to have the association of the bona fide spiritual master in his Vani incarnation. No other way. And I've been reading from the Krishna book, Mother Rochisha, as you know. And, you know, nowadays I kind of decide between the diaries or if it's the Easy Journey to Other Planets or whatever current book I'm reading. And I got to this section today. I actually read a few chapters. They were fantastic. And when I got to this section that Prabhupada has written in the Krishna book, it was such a wonderful explanation of material life. And it made me think of my experience with Paul. Gopal his death, and how Prabhupada was explaining so perfectly the material situation that we're all in. Now, someone could say, not me. Incorrect. Everybody is on a timetable. Yes, and everybody will be subjected to these circumstances no matter who you are. So I thought I'd read from this today for us before we move into the different sections. He conceived of cursing them as follows. He said that the attraction for material enjoyment is due to an increase of the mode of passion. Go back up, please. A person in the material world, when favored by the material opulences of riches, generally becomes addicted to three things: intoxication, sex, and gambling. This is the principle of the American political system. Make America great again. MAGA. Let them have plenty of intoxication. Let them have plenty of sex and gambling. Gambling is gone out of control. Nowadays, it's become religion. And billions of people gamble every day. Billions of dollars. Billions. Materially opulent men, being puffed up with the accumulation of wealth, also become so merciless that they indulge in killing animals by opening slaughterhouses. That's what we had with Mr. Donald. He had his steak. He was selling steak. Not very smart. And they think that they themselves will never die. Yes, they think they'll live on. People do that. Such foolish persons, forgetting the laws of nature, become overly infatuated with the body. Look at my hair. Oh yeah, let me look at your hair. It's falling out. They forget that the material body, even though very much advanced in civilization, up to the position of the demigods, will finally be burned to ashes. Prabhupada said in America, the standard of life was very opulent. So, but is it going to make a difference when you go to the funeral pyre? No. I can remember going to Calcutta. I stayed at the Nahata families. Was it the Nahatas? And right next to the Gaudiya Math in Kaligat. And it was remarkable, excuse me, everybody, to see the people carrying the bodies down the street to the burning pit right in the neighborhood, and everybody going to ashes. And that was constant because there's so many people there. There's constant birth and death. And while one is living, I've had a cough the last few days, whatever the external conditions of the body may be, within this only stool, urine, and various kinds of worms. Thus, being engaged in jealousy and violence to other bodies, materialists cannot understand the ultimate goal of life, and without knowing this goal of life, they generally glide down to a hellish condition. In their next birth, such foolish persons commit all kinds of sinful activities on account of this temporary body, and they are even unable to consider whether this body actually belongs to them. Generally, it is said that the body belongs to the person who feeds the body. One might therefore consider whether this body belongs to one personally or to the master to whom one renders service. The master of slaves claims right to the bodies of the slaves because the master feeds the slaves. Excuse me. It may be questioned then whether the body belongs to the father who is the seed-giving master of the body, or to the mother, who develops the child's body in the womb. Very detailed explanation here of life. Foolish persons are engaged in committing all sorts of sins due to the misconception of identifying the material body with the self. But one should be intelligent enough to understand to whom this body belongs. It doesn't belong to us. Actually, we're renters. You don't keep the body. You give it up, especially when it becomes old and useless. A foolish person indulges in killing other animals to maintain the body, but he does not consider whether the body belongs to him or to his father or mother or grandfather. Sometimes a grandfather or a father gives his daughter in charity to a person with a view of getting back the daughter's child as a son. The body may also belong to a stronger man who forces it to work for him. Sometimes the slave's body is sold to the master on the basis that the body will belong to the master. Oh, I am so sorry. At the end of life, it's just what the philosophy said. It's a bag of blood, pus, stool, and urine, eh? At the end of life, the body belongs to the fire, because the body is given to the fire and burnt to the ashes. Or the body is thrown into the street to be eaten by the dogs and vultures. I can't keep reading so well. Could you read the last paragraph here, Ram Rakha? Before committing all kinds of sins?
Before committing all kinds of sins to maintain the body, one should understand to whom the body belongs. Ultimately, it is concluded that the body is a product of material nature, and at the end, it merges into material nature. Therefore, the conclusion should be that the body belongs to material nature. One should not wrongly think that the body belongs to him. To maintain a false possession, why should one indulge in killing? Why should one kill innocent animals to maintain the body?
Read one more, just one last section. When a man is infatuated.
When a man is infatuated with the false prestige of opulence, he does not care for any moral instruction, but indulges in wine, women, and animal killing. In such circumstances, a poverty-stricken man is often better situated because a poor man thinks of himself in relation to other bodies. A poor man often does not wish to inflict injuries to other bodies because he can understand more readily that when he himself is injured, he feels pain. As such, the great sage Nārada considered that because the demigods Nalakuvara and Manigriva were so infatuated by false prestige, they should be put into a condition of life devoid of opulence.
And there, on it goes. So very elaborate explanation of material life, especially those people who are under the control of the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. This is Prabhupada's brilliance, that he can articulate the truth of life concisely with elegant words, eloquent words, and in this way enlighten the disciple on the plight of material condition. Yes, and we should always remember, for one who is born, death is certain. For one who has died, birth is certain. We are simply in the cycle of birth and death, and it's our chance to get out by following the orders of the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. We'll move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and then the reading and discussion on today's Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California. Hare Krishna.
Sai.
Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Nāmācārya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridharan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram chaiva narottamam. Naram chaiva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam. Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author, from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1:2-4. Welcome everyone to this reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few selected verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself, from the first canto, second chapter, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Yadanudyasina yukta karma granti nibandhanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat kataratim. Intelligent persons do cut off the internet of the knot of reactionary work by remembrance of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not give attention to his message? Shushrushoho sradadhanasya vasudeva kataruchihi styan mahat sevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done, and as the result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Srinvatam svakataha Krishna punyastravana kirtana Hridyantasto Yabadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadarajastamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye chetayiterana viddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in a mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manasu bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarvasamshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drishtaevatmanishwari. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated, along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. We will proceed with our specific verse for today. I believe we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 6, text number 33. It should be noted that this reading is being conducted on the basis of the original 1962 Delhi edition, all English synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Pragayataha praviryani tirtapada prayashravaha ahuta eva me shigram darshanam yati chetasi. Pragayataha, thus singing. Praviryani, own activities. Tirtapadaha, Lord, whose lotus feet is the source of all virtues or holiness. Priyashrava, pleasing to hear. Ahuta, called for. Eva, just like. Me, to me. Shigrani, very soon. Yati, appears. Chetasi, on the seat of the heart. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are all pleasing to hear, does at once appear on the seat of my heart as if he's called for, as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities. Purport by His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. The absolute personality of God, it is not different from his transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibration thereof. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing, chanting, remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of such pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in the terms of loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. It is a natural psychology in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. That is a natural instinct, and the Lord, being also an individual personality like others, is not an exception to this psychology, because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are but reflections of the same psychology in the absolute Lord. The only difference is that the Lord is the greatest personality of all other personalities and absolute in his all affairs. If therefore the Lord is attracted by the pure devotee's chanting of his glories, there is nothing astonishing, and as he is absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, the two things being identical. Śrīla Nārada chants the glorification of the Lord not for his personal benefit, but because the glorifications being identical with the Lord, Nārada Muni forces penetration of the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. Very, very important text. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Shiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha Adadana Strinam Danteridam Yache Punaha Punaha Srimad-Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Sat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In this particular text of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are many, many important points that are being brought up, the foremost of which Prabhupada explains the absolute personality of Godhead is not different from his transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibration thereof. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing, chanting, remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of such pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. As part of these readings, we've often discussed several incidents with His Divine Grace Śrīla Prabhupāda, where Prabhupada revealed glimpses of his powerful transcendental position. One time in Calcutta, one sannyasi asked Śrīla Prabhupāda, when the spiritual master closes his eyes, what does he see? And Prabhupada rebuked the devotee by saying, that you do not need to ask. The sannyasi then went further with the questioning and asked Śrīla Prabhupada, Prabhupada, the pure devotee, when he closes his eyes, what does he see? Prabhupada, the pure devotee, when he closes his eyes, he sees the pastimes of Radha Krishna manifested in his heart 24 hours a day. So this is the same principle that's been explained here. Reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Of course, one cannot artificially try to imitate this. This is something which is naturally developed in the heart as one becomes purified. There's an interesting exchange with a devotee who went with Śrīla Prabhupada on a walk and asked Śrīla Prabhupada about Siddha Deha. Siddha Deha means the perfection of one's own spiritual body in relationship with his rasa with Krishna. And Prabhupada's reply, first you understand that you're not this body, and then later on we'll talk about Siddha Deha, which is basically Śrīla Prabhupada's standard reply every time people talk about Swarup Siddha Deha, Swarup Siddhi, one's eternal rasa with Krishna. Okay, these are very interesting topics, but for a neophyte who barely understands that he is not the body, it's not possible to understand or comprehend such advanced topics. This is very similar to when Prabhupada was with Guru Das Prabhu or Guru Das Maharaj at the Radha Damodar temple. And Prabhupada explained to him that in this temple, the literatures of the Goswamis are here, and the 6 Goswamis used to write these books in this premises. And Prabhupada told him, if you would understand the contents of these literatures, you would faint. In other words, these highly advanced transcendental literatures of the 6 Goswamis are not meant for the neophyte stage. There's a very interesting story that Prabhupada relates with regard to his Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to his father, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and asked him permission to print the Govinda Lilamrita. The Govinda Lilamrita is a very advanced literature written by Krishnadas Kaviraj, which describes the 24 activities of Radha and Krishna. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur told him, yes, you can print one copy only. In other words, this is not meant for public talk. Should be noted that Prabhupada several times pointed out that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only discussed the confidential activities of Radha and Krishna with a few devotees, Swarup Damodar, very few devotees, Shiki Mahiti in Jagannath Puri. He never discussed these pastimes in public. Of course, the argument may be made, well, Prabhupada translated the Krishna book, the translation of the 10th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Oh, that's very nice. Rupa Goswami mentioned here in the chat. Let me see what he says here. Let's see what he has. Here's the exact statements. My Guru Maharaj wanted to publish Govinda Lilamrita. He asked permission of Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So first of all, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, I'll tell you someday. And when he reminded, he said, yes, you can print one copy. If you are so much anxious to print it, print one copy. You'll read and you'll see that you have printed, not for distribution. So we are printing all these books for understanding properly. Not that here's Radhakund, let us go. Jump over like monkey. Here's Rasalila immediately. Achyutananda. Even in Krishna book, Rasalila should not be told in public. Prabhupada, no, why? Krishna book must be there. In the book must be there. So this is a very important point, that Prabhupada is given a process for devotees to gradually, systematically, and methodically make spiritual advancement. But the problem comes when devotees want to jump, like Prabhupada said, jumping like monkeys. We had personal experience of seeing one devotee from Europe in 1974 when the Krishna Balaram temple was being constructed. In 1974, as the building was constructed, first of all, before the building was constructed, the temple building and the guest house building, they started to build Prabhupada's house. He would have a place to stay. So we were living in tents along the wall. And Ananda Prabhu, a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, his personal cook, by the way, he would cook prasadam for the devotees. So Prabhupada came out of his room and he picked up a brick that was there on the balcony, and he held the brick above his head, ready to strike a devotee with the brick. And he told this devotee was wearing big Radhakund beans, Radhakund tilak. Prabhupada said, who told you to go to Radhakund? Who gave you permission to go there? Who told you you could go there? You're supposed to be my disciple. Whoever told you to go by yourself, independently, whimsically? And Prabhupada went on and on and on. Finally, Prabhupada threw the brick on a balcony, and Prabhupada later on that same day went on for 3-4 hours in his room preaching about the danger of this artificial sahaja ideas. Because we see the tendency of devotees, they get a little bit of relief from the anxiety of the material world when they start, and immediately they're thinking, oh, let me jump to Radhakund. Let me jump to Govinda Lilamrita. Let me jump to all of these confidential things. No, that is not the proper process. That is not the way that Prabhupada taught. Prabhupada was very systematic in training devotees in a very systematic, step-by-step method by which devotees could make the ultimate spiritual advancement. But the tendency for shortcuts, or as sometimes it's called a silver bullet, is there. And devotees should resist that tendency. It's just like Prabhupada explains that in order to understand Rasa Lila, one has to understand systematically all the first 9 cantos of Bhagavatam, all the transcendental activities of Krishna, all the pastimes of Krishna, the different Lila avatars, the Purusha avatars, the creation of the material world. There is a systematic progress in studying the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We have personally seen in India people who do this Bhagavat Saptaha, because Maharaj Parikshit heard the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 7 days from Shukadev Goswami. So the difficulty is that these people, they want to imitate Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami, thinking we'll recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 7 days and everything is going to be all right. But the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam doesn't recommend this sort of 7 days Bhagavat Saptaha. Prabhupada criticized that. But it's good business. They make money. They raise considerable donations and funds by this show bottle. But Prabhupada did not approve of this. That's why in the beginning, I've asked devotees, ask me, why do you keep reading all these same verses before every Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam classes? What's the point of this? Well, the point is to understand why we are reading. What will be the result of this reading? Because people will say, what is the benefit? Why should I spend my time coming to a class on Sunday morning to hear the Bhagavatam? Prabhupada is telling us. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself is telling us. Nashta prayesha babadreshu. Nityam bhagavata sevaya. And so many other verses. These verses were not meant for the birds or the dogs. They were meant for us to hear this, to put it to our thick cranium so we can understand. This is a very important point. Very important point. In order to make progress, because we see, and I know this, Vishwakarma Prabhu knows this, Ram Raghava Prabhu knows this, You see, many devotees, they take the process of bhakti. They get a little relief. Oh, this is very nice. We take prasadam and everything. And then they slacken off and they fall in Maya again. They'll watch TV, radio, newspaper, internet all day, this and that. But you tell them, why don't you come and hear Bhagavatam? Oh, I have no time for that. Oh, I see. There's plenty of time for surfing on the internet, for radio, TV, newspaper, all nonsense. Sports, everything, all kinds of nonsense. But when it comes to hearing the most important literature in the world, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, I don't have time right now. You tell somebody, oh, I get requests. Oh, Yasoda, could you please give me initiation? I want to be a disciple, a follower of Prabhupada. Okay, I said, come and hear Bhagavatam for a few months. This Mataji here, Ruchi Mataji, she's been hearing for a year and a half, 2 years. And every time I see, she likes this discussion. She likes hearing Bhagavatam. Same thing from Ram Raghava. Same thing for Dharma Bhavana. Same thing for so many devotees, Ram Singh, Vijay Pandit. Because there's a taste. There's a taste to hearing about Krishna. Krishna will reward the devotee from within the heart with a taste for hearing. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam pramanamamalam. This Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the topmost evidence, higher than any other literature. This is exactly the chapters we're studying right now. Why is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam so important? Because Vyāsa had compiled all the literatures. He had compiled the 4 Vedas, the Puranas, the Vedanta Sutra. He still was not, the Mahabharata, he was still not satisfied. And Nārada Muni came him. This is what we've been reading for the last few months. Nārada Muni came to see Vyāsadeva, his disciple, and explained to him why you are not satisfied. That you should describe the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the topmost literature. Interesting, when we were traveling in South India in 1972, opening the field there, we met many different kinds of people. And occasionally you would meet some of these smartas and Mayavadis with their big ashes on the forehead. And Guru Kripa had a unique way of poking fun at them. He says, what is that on your forehead? What is that mud on your forehead? Oh, this is the Tripundra. He says, well, are you a follower? You would ask, are you a follower of Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya? He says, oh yes, we follow. So but Adi Shankaracharya said, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Mudamate. So are you following that? So this Bhaja Govinda you should do with this Urdhva Pundra, this Vaishnav Tilak, not this Tilak. They did not know what to say. And next we would ask them, if you say that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, that Brahman is truth and this world is false, this house or this mat, is it false? If it's false, you can give it to us, we'll use it. If it's real, you've just defeated your own philosophy. But they would not answer because they're too proud, falsely proud, thinking, oh, I was born in a Brahmin family, or I was born, I know Sanskrit. You Westerners don't know Sanskrit. So many nonsense, false ideas indoctrinated in the head. Because in order to become free from all these artificial false designations, a person has to hear Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam. This is from the Nārada Pancharatra. What this means, this is the definition of bhakti given by Nārada Muni. Sarva Upadi, that means all these false designations, men, women, American, Canadian, Russian, Polish, Mongolian, to be born in a Brahmin family or a Shudra family or lower in a Mlecha family. All of these are false designations due to bodily consciousness. We have no such thing as Western devotees, Eastern devotees. No, you are an eternal spirit soul. Aham Brahmasmi. If you're still contaminated after becoming a Vaishnava with this false idea that you're special because you were born in a Brahmin family or in an Indian family, you've got some work to do. You have some homework to do. Sarvopadi vinmuktam tatparatvina nirmalam. When all these nonsense ideas are cleared out, then the bhakti will begin. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyati. That this devotional service, this path of bhakti begins after you've cleared out all these nonsense ideas. But some people can't clear it out. They're too attached that they're very special because they were born in a Brahmin family, or they were born in an Indian family, or that they know Sanskrit better than the Westerners. These are all foolish, nonsensical ideas produced by Maya, illusion. Get out of this Maya. If you're a Vaishnava, if you're really claiming to follow Prabhupada, do not be victimized by nonsense ideas. You are an eternal spirit soul. Okay, if you were born in a Brahmin family or Indian family, that is very nice. That is your good past karma, but Krishna consciousness begins beyond that. There's a very interesting letter a devotee sent me recently. It was written in 1970, and Prabhupada was explaining the difficulty he had with preaching in America to the Indians. He says, the problem with the Indians is they think they know everything, and they do not have to learn anything from us about Krishna consciousness. Well, that's the problem, not just with Indians, with everybody. Unless one's developed a taste to hear from the authorized, bona fide, transcendental Acharya, Śrīla Prabhupāda, all of his understanding is just foolishness. One has to submit. One has to surrender, and the first surrender is to hear properly. To hear submissively, not to concoct or manufacture bogus ideas. And the first danger of all these bogus ideas is to change the words of the Acharya, to change the writing of the Acharya, to change the books of the Acharya. That is a very dangerous, nonsensical thing. You go to any lawyer in a country and ask him if you can change the law books by yourself. They will laugh at you. That can only be done by the legislature. You cannot change things by yourself. Similarly, no one is authorized. I don't care what editorial letter they have. It is simply nonsense. Why do we say this? It is not a personal attack on everybody. We're not criticizing anybody. We're just presenting Śrīla Prabhupāda's statements. How many times did Prabhupada say, don't change? You cannot even change one word. When devotees wanted to publish the Brahma Samhita, Prabhupada wrote a letter that do not even change one comma of my Guru Maharaj's book. Print it exactly how it is. In 1971, we went to the Gaudiya Math Bagbazar temple, the Gaudiya Math temple. Guru Kripa and myself, we wanted to buy some copies of Brahma Samhita, the one that was published during His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's time. So some old devotee, Vaishnava devotee, went to a dusty room and he got up an old box and he gave us a couple of Brahma Samhita. We gave him a donation. We brought it back to the temple in Calcutta and showed Śrīla Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, the first thing that he did is that he started to look at the first few pages of the book. And he's looking, he says, yeah, this book is bona fide. It was published during the presence of my Guru Maharaj. But after he left, be aware, they started to change his book, to edit some of his books. Same disease 45 years later. The same disease. Prabhupada told them, warned them on June 22nd, 1970, in his garden, do not change anything. They cannot change anything. Unquote. But they did not listen. They made more than 5,000 changes to Prabhupada's original Bhagavad Gita, claiming that the editor didn't know what he was doing. Okay, there may have been a mistake here or there, but overall, Prabhupada accepted the book. He preached from the book every day. Thousands of devotees were made from the book. Hundreds of scholars and PhDs gave reviews on the book. But yet some people thought they knew better. Oh, let's change the book. Simply nonsense. But people will say, oh, I got a letter. Prabhupada was such a good devotee. That may be. That's in 1976. In 1977, Prabhupada warned the next printing again should be the original way. But that changed disease. Prabhupada said several times, this is the problem with you Westerners, the change disease, always changing. Very dangerous tendency. But yet, some foolish persons, some foolish devotees, they say, oh, you two are criticizing. No, we're not criticizing. We're fact-finding and analyzing what took place to understand the proper course of action. That's all, because many devotees are confused. They've been victimized by the false propaganda of so-called managers, pseudo-managers, who've made a complete chaos of the society that Prabhupada started. Fortunately, there are many sincere devotees who want to see the situation rectified, so that in the future, after we all depart, you can get the original legacy of Śrīla Prabhupada, the original non-adulterated, non-interpolated, non-modified books. I was just talking to a devotee yesterday. He was explaining, he was telling me how important it is for devotees to read the original non-modified books of Śrīla Prabhupada. I said, yes, it does make a difference. He has seen the truth, and they have seen the truth is entirely different. When Prabhupada said that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur, no devotee in this movement has the right to change that. Who do you think you are? Who gave you the authority to change that statement? Because you don't understand it doesn't mean you should change it. And the reply from these bright individuals and their collective wisdom, oh, it doesn't conform to our understanding of initiation in ISKCON. Really? Well, your understanding is defective. It's false. It's not based on Prabhupada's own statements, because you are rushing. Why? We discussed yesterday with a devotee. Prabhupada warned, as soon as there is personal motivation, it is not possible to understand this Krishna conscious philosophy. Let me just repeat that for all of those who think they know better than Prabhupada, who have changed his books. It is not possible for you folks to understand the philosophy that he taught, because you are polluted with this disease of personal ambition. That's why you've changed his books. That's why you've changed his instruction. That's why you're distorting everything. Stop the changes. Stop the nonsense. Follow as it is. Prabhupada gave us the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Why? Because he saw that so many Mayavadi editions, nonsense editions, speculative editions were brought up and were distributed all over the world by so many speculators. He wanted to present exactly the Bhagavad Gita as it was meant to be presented, just like it was presented by his Guru Maharaj, by Bhaktivedanta Thakur, by all the great acharyas. So it's very important. If devotees claim that they follow Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, they should not change his books. Don't change his teaching. Don't change his instructions. Don't invent new styles of kirtans like sahajiyas. Why? You know, when Prabhupada was here with us, several times he would send his personal servant or his secretary to stop the kirtan when devotees went too far with crazy kirtans. We know, we've seen it, we've experienced it. Now it's every day on YouTube. Are they chanting for the pleasure of the deities or to try to show off like some rock and roll star? What are they chanting for? Kirtan was meant to be with kartals and mridangas. Bhajans are meant to be with this harmonium. They can go in a separate room for their bhajans. But the kirtan are meant to be in front of the deities for the satisfaction of the deities, for the pleasure of the deity. It is not show off. We're not rock and roll artists. We're trying to be devotees to please Krishna. How does Bhaktivedanta Thakur describe this? Bholo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. Aparad Shunya Hoy Laha Krishna Nam. Take the name of Krishna, avoid offenses, chant the name of Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, worship Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha. Follow Krishna's instruction. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Glory to Śrīla Prabhupada. Thank you. That was a wonderful explanation, not only of the verse, but of the proper understanding of how to receive the messages of Krishna via the transparent medium of the pure devotee. Because the pure devotee is a surrendered soul in disciplic succession, and he is the transparent via media for Krishna, that the Lord speaks through the spiritual master. The spiritual master has surrendered. That's why it's very important that people understand the difference between a pure devotee and a fake devotee. Very important point. Because those self-appointed people who claim to be pure devotees who are not are misleading people, and that's called misinformation, misrepresentation of the philosophy. And I wanted to comment, Yaśodā-nandana, you were talking about Radhakunda, and Prabhupada chastising the devotee who went to Radhakunda. And we had a situation in India back in, I think it was 1974, maybe you recall, I don't know if you were in Vrindavan at that time, but we were given permission to go to Radhakunda by Prabhupada. We had never gone there. Back in 73, there was Raman Reti. We stayed on the roof. The temple hadn't been constructed. It was being started, Krishna Balaram Mandir. But there was things going on. And then in the next year, we went back. We were going every year to Mayapur, Vrindavan festivals. It was fantastic. Dharma Bhavana. You go there, Prabhupada was there. He was going to present all the classes. So every morning you got up, you did your rounds, you went to Mangalarti, and then Prabhupada would come out. We would sing Guru Puja to him. And it was ecstatic, very ecstatic. Remember in Mayapur, remember Prabhupada going around the building in the morning? You could see some videos of it. He'd go around the building. There was just one building. It was the original construction. And then we all followed him around the building, and he'd ring the bell. And everybody would leap and chant like crazy. It was like just the spiritual world had manifested before our very eyes. I'm from Hamilton, which is steel town. It's a nowhere. And all of a sudden I'm in India, in Adodi and Akurta, at the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, and there's Prabhupada leading us around the temple room, ringing the bell, and everybody's chanting and dancing. We had no problems, no cares in the world. We were simply satisfied to be a part of that transcendental experience. I'll try not to cough too much. It was amazing. Anyway, getting back to Vrindavan. So we go over to Vrindavan. I'm not as, my memory isn't as astute as Yaśoda's, so I apologize. But at any rate, I think it was 1974. And somehow or other, they decided they were going to let us go to, Prabhupada gave permission for us to go to Radhakunda. We weren't traveling around, by the way. Whenever we went to India, we were all designated. We'd end up in Mayapur, Navadvip, and then we'd go from there. We went to Vrindavan, or subsequently we started to go to Bombay as the Bombay temple started to manifest. Anyway, we get permission to go, and they arrange some buses because it's a distance from Krishna Balaram Mandir. It was wonderful, by the way, Bhaktivedanta. I remember when you get off the bus there, you know what you did, Ram Raghava? You know what you did. You made this journey. You have no idea what you're doing, but you knew one thing: you got to roll in the dust. Everybody get off the bus, and back then it was still Vrindavan the way we knew it. We get off and just roll in the dust, get covered with the dust of Vrindavan. Get blessed, eh? It was amazing. So Prabhupada says, oh, okay, he gives us this instruction. They arrange some buses. Oh, yeah. So we all go out, we get in the buses, and we head off to Radhakunda. Okay, we're going to go to Radhakunda. We have no idea of what we're doing, really, obviously. And we get there. And it wasn't developed back then. It was still India, uncontaminated in a sense. And it was very simple. There were just some huts there around ponds. And it was really hot, so we didn't know what to do. And everybody was told, well, you can take bath in Radhakunda. Oh, wow. So we're all, there's staircases there. So you walk down the steps, and the idea is you're supposed to get at the end of the stairs, and the bath was, the proper way to take bath was you would, have a loda and pour the water over yourself, and you'd have a covering, and you'd take bath like that. Oh, no. I could still see it vividly. All of a sudden, I see some devotees, they cannonball off the pier into the Radhakunda. I'm going, what the heck is that? And so I thought, well, I guess this is what you do. So all the devotees, there was about 200 of us, we all started to take a swim in Radhakunda. What happened to me, Ram Raghava? I dove in, and I thought, well, I'll just swim across Radhakunda. So I'm swimming along, and I'm thinking, holy Krishna, this is a long way. I'm going to drown. I started to drown in Radhakunda. I thought, I still remember it. I was going under. I was saying, oh my God, I'm going to die in Radhakunda. Anyway, I made it to the other side. I dog paddled, got the other side and got out. And so we carried on, we finished up, and then we get back in the bus, and we go back to Krishna Balaram Mandir. Prabhupada finds out what's happened. So, oh my God. Everything. We did everything wrong. It was actually very offensive to use it as a swimming pool. Prabhupada gave the explanation. He said he realized that we didn't know it. We were innocent. It was a mistake. We didn't know. And he compared it to the child walking on the sari of the mother, Radharani, soiling the mother. And in this way, we were forgiven for our errors. But this is something that we should never have done. Just like when we went to Govardhan Hill, everybody started to pick up the Govardhan Shilas. And I know Yaśodā-nandana got one from Prabhupada personally, I believe. That's different. But everybody was taking these, Prabhupada, take those Shilas back to Govardhan Hill. Because there are strict rules about this. And we have to be careful not to jump ahead and think, Prabhupada said in a recent lecture I was listening to, that anybody that jumps ahead and thinks that they are now becoming gopi or prema bhakti, there's every chance they'll fall down. It's a gradual process. And there are strict rules and regulations for it. Just like worshiping, excuse me, everyone, worshiping the deity Radha and Krishna in your home. Very dangerous. Very. It's possible. You could do it. Oh yes, people do it, and there's nothing wrong with it. But there are a lot of rules that you have to follow. A lot. And you have to become familiar with them, install the deity properly, and do all that regulation in order to not commit offenses against Radha and Krishna. In Hamilton, Ram Raghava, when we had the temple on Charlton, all we had was a Panchatattva, a painting. And then we had a picture of Prabhupada, one picture of Prabhupada as the guru. We didn't even have the disciplic succession. We just had Prabhupada, and we had the Panchatattva. And by the way, back then, we were all so sincere. We accepted totally that Lord Chaitanya was present in the painting. And that this is the Guru Gauranga worship. And that's all we did. And we offered our food. We had the kirtans, ecstatic kirtans in front of the painting, the Panchatattva. No Radha Krishna. No. But it did not minimize the devotion that the devotees had for Krishna in these different manifestations, whether it was in the Panchatattva painting or a simple picture of the Guru. It's devotional service is based on the sincerity of the purpose of the individual, not on formality. Formality is okay. It's very proper. The etiquette is very important. As you make advancement, you have to be careful. But real devotional service is sincerity of purpose. So when people start to think, oh, I'm going to become I'm a lover of Krishna, very dangerous. One should always stay in the humble state of mind, that you're simply the servant of the spiritual master. That's what Prabhupada's instruction to myself was. And this way you'll become great by remaining a servant. And these formalities of devotional service must be carefully followed by the serious practitioner. And you have to read the Bhagavatam starting at the first canto and go forward up to the 10th canto, carefully, going step by step. And the lotus feet are the first canto, and it moves up to the higher stage of understanding Radha Krishna. Yes, very, very important that we do not become sahajya ourselves. I have a friend, he worships Radha Krishna at his house in Cambodia. I don't know why he does this. He got these deities years ago, and he maintains this idea of keeping Radha Krishna. I don't tell him not to. I mean, it's out of my hands, really. But I did tell him, you have to be very cautious when you do this. Very careful. Because you can commit offenses, just like offenses of familiarity breeds contempt. That when you're around Śrīla Prabhupāda, and we're reading about this, these so-called senior devotees that we're reading about from the early days, being familiar with Śrīla Prabhupāda, thinking him an ordinary person, and this creates contempt. Familiarity breeds contempt. It ruins the relationship. Therefore, Prabhupada preferred that we followed him in his Vani, not his Vapu. So we'll move forward with the review of the biography, the unauthorized biography of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda by one of his disciples. And by the way, Yaśodā, I'm writing a bio for our guide, and I got good information from Yaśodā yesterday. We're writing a brief explanation of Prabhupada's life as an introduction to people that are going to go read the guide. They have a perspective on who Prabhupada is. Not only his accomplishments, but his status as a pure devotee. It's very important for people to see the opportunity that they have to get this association with an exalted personality like Śrīla Prabhupāda, who's produced so many wonderful literatures, a whole library of information for people, for all of us to read on an ongoing basis and enjoy the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and the whole Vedic understanding of the purpose of human life. So there's just an incredible opportunity, but don't misuse it by misunderstanding not understanding the difference between a bona fide source and an illegitimate source, which is the guru business. So we'll go ahead, we're going to read this interesting review, and you're going to see, as you're hearing this, everybody, how the author of the Lilamrita misinterprets Prabhupada's actions and puts them on the mundane platform and has no idea what he's talking about. It's absolutely such a terrible propaganda tool that they've used to misrepresent Prabhupada's position. Go ahead, Yaśodā, please.
Thank you very much. We are reading from the Lilamrita Review, book number 2, section number 2, on page number 9, where we're reading from a section called, Was Śrīla Prabhupada Frustrated, Baffled, and Perplexed? So we were right now on page number 10, where Śrīla Prabhupada himself explains what is the meaning about baffled. The definition, according to Webster's Dictionary of Predicament, is a perplexing situation. The dictionary further defines baffled as to be defeated or checked by confusion. Frustrated is defined as to defeat in an endeavor, to make invalid, to bring to nothing. Shastra rejects this claim and informs us that His divine grace could have never have been baffled. As the bona fide spiritual master, he took all others who surrendered to him due to their becoming baffled as to the right path of action, to the shelter of Krishna consciousness, which is free from perplexity. Śrīla Prabhupada in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, Text 1. In the material world, the conditioned soul is generally baffled, although sometimes he's relieved after great difficulty. The human form is an opportunity to take shelter of the bona fide spiritual master and through him, the Supreme Lord. This Krishna consciousness movement has been started to give an opportunity to all members of human society who are misled by foolish leaders. Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, Text 7, by nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore, it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. The Vedic wisdom therefore advised that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. Then we have from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Text 2. Maharaj Parikshit was neither afraid of nor bewildered by such things. That is the sign of a pure devotee of the Lord. Then we have from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 6. My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you, because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and the maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Purport. A person who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is the emblem of all knowledge. Now, these are very important points because sometimes devotees keep going back, well, probably it says this in an Alamrita, it says that. The problem with that whole book, it's involved in complete speculation about the activities of Śrīla Prabhupada. Because we read yesterday and we posted in the chat a statement from Śrīla Prabhupada where he says there is no need to understand the past of a Vaishnava, and there is no record. This is a very important legal point. There is no actual record of Prabhupada advising or ordering any of his disciples to write a biography about him. As a matter of fact, when he was asked in Toronto about personal association, Prabhupada's reply was, you read my books. If you read the books, if you're lucky enough nowadays to read an original book, a non-modified, not adulterated book, then you will understand what Prabhupada is saying about his life, where he was born, how he had the Rath Yatra when he was young, how he was, his father was a pure devotee, how he met his Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So many descriptions about his personal life are there. There's no need for the speculation of an auditor. And incidentally, I'm not going to get into the details of this, but there's also another aspect to this, that some of the participants in the writing of this so-called authorized biography were engaged in questionable, non-authorized activities while writing these books. We'll leave it at that for now. Thank you very, to whom it may concern.
Okay, I'm not, thank you, Yaśodā, but I'm going to say this. The person that was writing it was breaking the rules and regulations of the four regs, period. And the real question is, everyone, why do people like that do these things? And the answer is because they're on the mental plane. That's it. It's a mental disease. And there are two primary symptoms of this disease: mental speculation and mental concoction. They make it up. They're guessing, and not only are they guessing, they're concocting. Why are they doing that? Because they have motive from false ego. They're looking at fame. They're trying to become known as some kind of brilliant academic scholar, a writer. Oh, look, I'm a great writer. I wrote the biography of Prabhupada. Unauthorized, but I'm writing it. In the meantime, I'm breaking the regulated principles. So obviously, the person's on the mental plane. That's a very common thing, by the way, to people to live on the mental plane. They just concoct everything in their mind. They think they know, but they don't. They're fools. They're stupid. And they talk stupid. And when you tell them that, they look at you, what, me? Not me. Who, me? No, not me. Yeah, well, yeah, you. You don't get it. You don't listen. That's your problem. You don't listen. You get good advice and you reject it. So, the other reason why this person was motivated was to become a guru. And what happens when you become a guru, unauthorized guru? You have power. So you become famous as a great author. Then you become powerful because you're a guru, you represent God. And then the last thing that you do is you want money. Oh, I need money for my retirement. What's the best way to get money? Well, get disciples. They'll give you money. And you get rich. People become rich in the guru business. There's no question of that. So, fame, power, greed, they drive the grand illusion. That's what it is. And so some people have done this for that purpose. And that's unfortunate. They're on the mental plane of mental speculation and mental concoction. And so we're dealing with this. It's a disease like cancer. Have you ever had cancer, Tom, in Germany? Have you ever had cancer? Do you know what it's like? It's terrible. I was just with Gopal. The cancer spread throughout his body. It killed him. And some of you may have had cancer here in our group. Myself and Yaśodā are both cancer survivors. I had 5 cancer operations in the last 5 years. Some fairly serious for urinary bladder cancer. And Krishna blessed me with some more time to continue on with our service. But the point is, cancer spreads. And what we're talking about is this disease that's being propagated by people in the Prabhupada's mission who are not bona fide are spreading cancer to everybody in terms of confusion. Yes. And you become infected by them. So we always warn everybody, be careful who you associate with. Be very careful. Do not listen to everybody. Don't be naive like we were. Oh yeah, I was very naive. And I am number one stupid. I know that. I had a guy come to the Toronto temple back in the day. He showed up with a German shepherd. He was supposed to be a guru. He was showing up with a German shepherd to protect himself. What? Keith Ham, what's wrong with you? And I thought, well, I guess that's all right. Yeah, I guess it's all right. Yeah, you can sleep in a sleeping bag in Prabhupada's room with a child. And, oh, yeah, that's all right. He wouldn't do anything wrong. And the guy was a pedophile. And that's how stupid I was. Right in front of my very eyes, things were going on. I was forgiving everybody. Oh, no, he wouldn't do that. No, no, no. Oh, yes, he did. And it was proven in due course of time how degraded many of these people were. And so we have to be careful who you associate with, who you listen to. Don't just go be naive and listen to anybody and because they got pink robes on, they're some kind of great sage. Yeah, sure. But at any rate, we could go on. Well, let's go to Ram Raghavar, our good friend, the doctor. How many people are on that YouTube channel today, sir?
Hare Krishna. So
Haribo.
up to 14 people, and there are 14 people watching right now.
Okay.
And
Any questions?
let me see. There's one question from somebody named Chan. It says,
Okay.
using these points, would it be possible to prove to the world that they are not representing Prabhupada's teachings, nor his movement, nor for the sake of argument, not for the sake of argument?
Prove to the world. What?
That they're not representing Prabhupada's teachings.
Well, I mean, The answer is, Prabhu, online, is we're explaining it to you. You're coming to the program, correct? So do you accept it? How are we going to reach the world? We're trying. We're doing it. We have our classes. We have 2,000 hours of programming. And we're doing a lot of other things in preparation to educate people. We're step by step. It takes time to complete all of the duties that Krishna has sent to us. So we're doing the best we can, but it is a very complicated situation. Yes, it is, and confusing and quite tragic in some ways. But it has not dampened our enthusiasm to continue on in the hope that we'll meet sincere people like yourself who will get it and carry on with the message without any change or alteration.
Thank you for that. That was,
Go ahead.
Sorry, the correction on the name was Sihan, not Chan, but I also have a question for you.
Go ahead, please.
In the purport of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that we read today,
Okay.
there's a section that says, if therefore the Lord is attracted by the pure devotees chanting of his glories, there is nothing astonishing, and as he is absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, the two things being identical. So my question is, when we're chanting, should we be thinking of Krishna or looking at pictures of Krishna, or what should we be doing when we're chanting?
Well, the main thing, it's a simple answer, and you know it. You listen. That's what you're supposed to do. And then you engage all your senses, like you might burn incense and you offer it. You smell the incense. You smell the flowers if you have offered flowers. You look at the picture, like we did at the Hamilton Temple back in 1971. We would chant to the Panchatattva. And in this way, you engage all of your senses in Krishna's service. And you absorb. You're like, it's samadhi, you become deep, dive deep into the whole process. But the main thing is to listen. And I'm finding for myself, I'm just giving my own experience. My rounds are whatever. These last little while, I keep practicing. I keep mentioning it to all of us about our friend Gopal, who was not really preparing the way he should have for leaving. So it's reminding me, listen, listen, listen. So when I was on my japa walk this morning, I was listening more to the mantra. So practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. It's like anything that you do. You just keep practicing, keep going, keep trying. Try to listen. Just keep trying, and Krishna will help you. Yaśodā, maybe you could respond.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a lot of different angles to this.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that there's a very important aspect to Krishna consciousness, and we keep mentioning this again and again about hearing, submissive hearing from the proper sources. The difficulty we're all confronting right now, and I know our good friend Neil Sharma and Ram Raghava understand this, because they're both in the medical field, highly accredited doctors and dental surgeons, that you can't manufacture your own way of becoming a dental surgeon and a doctor. There's a proper path to get that certification, to get that qualification. And in order to do that, you've got to study, you've got to take exams, you got to take a final exam. There's a system. Similarly, there's a system for chanting. There's a system for hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And the problem is the entire system that Prabhupada gave us has been turned upside down by whimsical people. People who decided we're going to change that system and modify that system and invent new ways of presenting that system for whatever reason they've concocted. I mean, how many times do we read in Prabhupada's teachings? Don't change, don't adulterate, don't manufacture, don't speculate. I mean, it's everywhere from the first to the last page. It's not, but the tendency of the conditioned soul is to be whimsical and change. Vishwakarma Prabhu has pointed out with regards to Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj's institution, that a great institution was spoiled by whimsical ways. Everybody on this program, everybody who's listening, everybody is confronted with that reality. You have a choice. You have a choice to hear from the original source, from Prabhupada's original, unrevised, non-modified teachings and books, or else to go and listen to these people who, for whatever concocted reason, think that they can change and modify and re-edit and subsequently edit. And it just, you lose the purity. Let me give you an example. In South India, there's a temple. It's in Madras, in Chennai. It's called Parthasarathy Temple. This is a temple where the deity is 5,000 years old. And I once had an interesting discussion with the Sri Vaishnava Brahmins. They sell these little cups of prasadam. And you give them a little fee, and they give you this little cup of prasadam. And some of it is called paramannam. Paramannam is the Sanskrit word for sweet rice. Now, they cook sweet rice in a very specific way and put spices in it. They'll put a little bit of camphor, a little bit of cardamom, a tiny bit, a slice of cinnamon, but you don't know exactly their recipe. They will not give you the recipe because they say we can't give it because it's for the deity. It's for Parthasarathy. And it is so exquisite. People buy one cup, they come back, they want another cup. Why? They don't change the recipe. Here it is. Here's the temple right there. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. It's very unique, very unique. They never change the recipe. Another example, Śrīla Prabhupada was in Calcutta. There's a very famous sweet shop in Calcutta called K.C. Das. K.C. Das is the most famous sweet shop in Bengal. They have the most, best, highest quality of rasgulla. Rasgulla. They never change the recipe. They never amend the recipe. It is the best of the best that you can get. All the sweets are the top. The best ingredients, pure cow milk, pure ghee, pure chana. And Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is like that. We present as it is. And since night, and the difficulty we're facing, everybody here, we've been presented a falsehood, and we're being told, believe that falsehood, accept that falsehood, because we are senior devotees. We are manager devotees. No. It's time to ask questions. If you go to court, they're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you questions. The judge will ask you questions. The opposing counsel will ask you questions. And you can't say, oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm manager of a big company. I can't answer those questions. That's not going to fly. Here we go. My dear Arjuna, one who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. Very important point. And this is why we keep repeating, just like that sweet rice, that's perfect. They never changed the recipe. Just like K.C. Das, they never changed the recipe. Prabhupada gave a perfect recipe for individual practice and for preaching. And when that recipe is changed, it causes all kinds of problems and chaos. That's all I say for now. I see that Man Mohini is smiling. I don't know if it's not a video, but she's smiling about all this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have our friend in down in southern states, Neela Sharma. I see you got your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna.
Go
Hare
ahead,
Krishna.
please.
Jai Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting question which was posed by the YouTuber, one on the YouTube, and by Ram Raghava Prabhu.
Yeah.
I'd like to address the question posed by the person on YouTube. Is that it all starts with one thing. It all started, this whole thing is that they are fake, starts with the first thing, which is the letter, which I'm going to share over here with you.
Okay.
Which is the July 9th, 1977 letter. And it is, let me share this with you. And this is that letter which it starts with, where Prabhupada gives an official directive. This is, again, note the date. It is July 7, 1977, the very year which Śrīla Prabhupada left his body, left this material planet. So all these, were mentioned as Ritviks, as officiating acharyas. You see, both first and second initiations. These are representative of the acharya. Look at these words, very important. So you can, it starts off with this, and of course it culminates in very many other things, but this is the part which I wanted to kind of put on, and you can look it up, you can see it. I've put the link on the chat also. That's number one. Number two, going to,
let me say something just quickly, just to
yes.
insert. I received that letter. It was sent to me in Toronto in the mail. I did receive it. So it was, I remember. Thank you for putting it up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So the whole controversy starts with this letter. And of course, you know, the best teacher for us is history. What has happened historically with ISKCON, you can see it on a very gradual basis, what's going to happen. And as the degradation proceeds on, it continues on. So this is the first step. The second part of the question which Ramaraghava Prabhu put forth, and I'd like to share this from a letter of Śrīla Prabhupāda. You can see this. It is New Delhi, August 26, 1976. Prabhupada mentions very clearly over here, they must chant 16 rounds a day minimum with attention. Look at the adjectives which I used. Attention, clearly chanting the mantra, and listening very carefully. These three things are very, very critical.
Uh-huh.
This is the recommended process for purifying the heart. So a lot of people ask this, like, should I read? Should I see something? Should I think of Krishna stuff? No. First, attention to what you are saying, attention to clearly chanting the mantra, and listening to what you are chanting. So this is the three parts which Prabhupada says very, very clearly. You see? So this is what the other part is. And then one question I have for Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu,
Uh-huh.
and we hear a lot of people, and a lot of us have had experience where we have spoken to so many people. Some people get it, some people don't get it.
Uh-huh.
Now here Krishna talks in chapter 15, verse 15, Sarvasva chaham riddhi sannivishtu matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedya vedantakrit vedavida evam chaham. Now look at this particular sentence especially. Matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So if I'm trying to remind somebody that, hey, you need to listen to Prabhupada, you need to listen to the original Acharya, an
Yeah.
Acharya can become Acharya only by the order of the preceding Acharya, and without that order, nobody can become Acharya.
Uh-huh.
And even that, the order has to come. But even then, if somebody poses to be one, then you're going to reach to the level where this person is, and that's it, nothing more than that. So Krishna can be given only by a person who's given, who Krishna blesses or mercies, shows his mercy through the disciplic succession. So this part about remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness come from me. So when somebody doesn't get it and somebody doesn't have it, Krishna seated in his heart is not allowing him to understand it. Now,
Yeah.
what could that be the reason? Can be his prarabdha karma, because of his tendencies, whatever it may be. You see, whatever it may be. But how should we deal with such people, especially as devotees, especially if we call ourselves disciples of Śrīla Prabhupada, who never stop giving mercy even to such people? How should we, if we call ourselves disciples of Śrīla Prabhupada, how should we approach such people who are hard-headed or who cannot understand it, but we have to still show compassion to them? Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I'd love to hear from that.
Well, there's a few ways of dealing with them, depending on the severity of the disease. One is to avoid them, not listening to them, or to kindly preach to them if you come in contact with them. And that one of the reasons why we had to set up these separate classes, separate organizations, separate preaching is because we have attempted in the past to have discussion with them. And a lot of the time, as you may know, they react in three different ways. If you bring up important issues, controversial issues, they either ignore you or they remain completely silent or engage in insulting and rude behavior, or they'll give you some ridiculous nonsense arguments. You know, there's a devotee in Russia who just compiled a book with 50 different articles refuting every conceivable objection of the GBC and the member of the LJEP, the Living Guru Experimental Project Group of the GBC. Their concocted interpretations, 50 different articles defeating systematically with all kinds of quotes and logic and everything. It's going to be published in the near future. I just recently put one of those articles on Facebook. But the point is, they refuse to engage in public debate because they know as soon as you ask them the question, because they've claimed after Śrīla Prabhupada departed, that Śrīla Prabhupada had appointed them as Diksha Gurus and Acharyas. When you start asking them, when were you appointed? How were you appointed? How was that appointment effected? When did this happen? They cannot answer. They cannot answer. I've tried it. I've discussed it with them. They can't answer. They will not have a clear, direct answer. Just like when Śrīla Prabhupada in 1969, this is in the Prabhupada Conversation book, he started some discussion with a group in Calcutta called the Chaitanya Mission that was exploring some cooperative preaching program with Śrīla Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, I've noticed in your articles of incorporation that the Acharya can appoint as a successor. And Prabhupada says, we do not find any record where our Guru Maharaj appointed any Acharya after him, unquote. The same thing. Where is that record? If you go to court and you make a claim that so-and-so broke the contract, people are going to ask you, well, what is that contract? Was it amended? Was there an ovation or a new lease or a new document that amended the contract? Because one of their favorite arguments is the letter you just read was just meant to be while Prabhupada was living. And my reply is, where is that in the letter? Was that letter ever amended? Was there another supplemental letter? Was there an amendment? Was there an agreement to amend that instruction? Nowhere does it exist. As a matter of fact, when we engage in personal discussion with these people after Prabhupada departed and ask them, hey, look, we understand that you're doing this, but Prabhupada didn't give such instruction for Vyāsasanas and titles and this pod title, that pod title. What is that? Oh, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm just doing this for the movement. Well, this is all nonsense. Again, people should not be victimized by false propaganda. Carefully study the evidence. The evidence is available. I just put out an article on Facebook a few days ago called Direct Order Required, which is all kinds of quotes directly from Śrīla Prabhupada exactly about this topic, that you cannot become a Diksha Guru and initiating Acharya without the direct specific order from the Acharya. Prabhupada did not give that order to any disciple. You cannot quote, he becomes disciple of my disciple, ignore the first part where Prabhupada says, when I order. Where is that order? When did he order? They cannot prove this. And Prabhupada knew that if you put a devotee in a position, whether a Kanishta-adhikari and Madhyama-adhikari, in a position they'll accept worship like a Mahabhagavat, this will create problem. Prabhupada warns, if one imitates a Mahabhagavata without being self-realized, eventually it will become degraded. History has shown this. But they don't learn from history. Why? The same old disease. Profit, adoration, and distinction. Once you move these things out of the heart, out of the mind, then it's possible to understand. Because when you really analyze what Prabhupada did, all he did was continuing the system that he had during his manifested presence. When people say, oh, there's no tradition of this, no one ever did this. Well, there's one person who did it. Śrīla Prabhupada did it between 1972 and 1977. He had temple presidents. Karma did this. GBCs, sannyasis, senior devotees do the fire sacrifice on his behalf, and it worked. Because everybody at that time accepted, at least we thought they did, that Prabhupada was the Acharya. Why should it change when Prabhupada departed? We have no such thing as the dead guru. a posthumous guru. This is an offensive blasphemy. A posthumous guru, that means you've never understood the philosophy. Why did Prabhupada say in 1969, on the 13th of January, what we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living? You never hear them quoting that. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. Do they discuss that? When Prabhupada was asked in July of 1975 in San Francisco, California, USA, what will happen to the movement when you die? What was Prabhupada's answer? I shall never die. I shall live from my books and you will utilize. This is the fundamental basis of understanding Prabhupada's intention. Not this bogus idea that Prabhupada is dead, finished, and gone. You know, there's a conversation in 1976 in August where Prabhupada said, as soon as he learns that Guru Maharaj is dead, now I can kill Guru and become Guru. Then there's a silence on the tape, a very ominous silence. Then Prabhupada says, then he's finished. People should learn from this. Very important. There you go.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Quote. Prabhupada said, I was born in 1896. Now you can calculate. What will happen to the movement in the United States when you die? Prabhupada, I will never die. Devotees, Jai, Haribo. Prabhupada, I shall live from my books or from my books, and you will utilize. Prabhupada, are you training a successor? Prabhupada, yes, my Guru Maharaj is there. And some people don't understand. They think, oh, Prabhupada didn't hear the message. Oh, he heard very clearly. Because Prabhupada always gave the credit to his Guru Maharaj. Just like in the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam, there's a place where it says that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world through his bona fide disciples. Well, this was written in 1973. How can Bhaktisiddhanta be preaching since he departed in 1937? Because Prabhupada never taught his guru was dead and gone, like these people. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I hope it helps.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to also give some perspective on this preaching to other devotees that I doubt Prabhupada's position as still living in sound. One should be very intelligent. Nilesh Sharma, I think you're still here. If he's not, doesn't matter. One should be very intelligent in qualifying people you talk to. You don't just go and start convincing people that are not interested in hearing what you have to say and get in an argument with them. That's a mistake. You have to qualify people. It's actually an offense to preach to the faithless. It's an offense against the holy name. Don't do it. So the way to do it, it's like, ask them questions. Don't preach to them. Ask them questions first. Find out who they are. It's like, for example, if somebody comes to buy a Rolex watch at the jeweler's shop, the first thing the person's going to ask you is, do you have the money? Your Rolex is going to cost $15,000. Do you have that dispensable cash to buy that Rolex watch? Or you want to buy a BMW? Oh, I want to buy a BMW. Yeah, how much money do you have in the bank? Nothing? Well, you're not getting it. Ask questions. A lot of times people come on the social media and they say, like the other day, I put up a quote of Prabhupada about bona fide guru. It's a quote from him. And the guy puts up a comment, oh, this is all garbage. I go, buddy, that's Prabhupada speaking and you're telling me it's garbage. And then I asked him a question, who's your guru? Oh, who's my guru? Well, I'm not going to tell you. Okay. What devotional service have you done in your life? Just so I get an idea of what you're about. No answer. Well, he hasn't done anything. He's got an opinion. The International Society of Opinionators. So qualify people before you go ahead and start talking to them. If they're not qualified, don't bother. It's a waste of time. If they're just going to get in an argument with you, if they're going to dispute what you say, you're not going to achieve anything. What's the value? So this is Krishna consciousness. We're smart people. We're not stupid. We ask questions. We listen. Most important is to hear from other people what they're doing. And then you can determine where they're at, and then you can establish if there is a potential for them to change, be changed, and understand. But a lot of people, once they're infected, Rochisha Devi Dasi, with the cancer of deception, misinformation, they're done. They're done like dinner. They're done. You can preach up and down the wall and run around and try to convince them. And they're going to turn around and say to you, you're a blasphemer. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to accept it because you're preaching, Nilasham, to the faithless. And it won't work. You have to know how to qualify people. Be smart. Be smart. Don't waste your time with them. And with that, we've come to the end of time. My God, it's gone till 12 noon today. So thank you, everyone, for being a part of the readings and discussions for this week. Another week is clocked by us. And we're moving into the end of April, and then May, and on we march. And we want to thank you all for participating and being a part of this sadhana program of hearing about the glories of the spiritual master and Krishna in the association of Śrīla Prabhupāda's disciples. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. We're going to go forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna, 2 minutes and 54 seconds, as astutely recorded by our host, Shah Ram Raghava. Please stay on for the chant. Prabhupada's going to lead it, and then we'll have our wind up of the program. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for participating in this lively reading and discussion. Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Ram Raghava Prabhu in Brighton, Georgia. Vijay Pandit in Italy. Come va, come va. Tutto bene, molto bene. Ruchisa Mataji in Canada. Neil Sharma Prabhu in Florida. Ron Singh in Sacramento, California. Michael Dillon in Yuba City, California. And Man Mohini in Texas. I don't know exactly where. Rupa Goswami Prabhu in Mumbai, India. And everybody participating in the program. Thank you very much. Please come tomorrow morning. Not tomorrow morning, but Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock for Chaitanya Charitamrita reading and discussion. And please stay with us for 2 minutes. We have some Jamaican Vaishnavas singing a very interesting rendition of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare